Welcome, darling. I can see your future, and in that future, I see desire, temptation to click the subscribe button. Hey guys, it's Lexi. Sorry I had to do that. I am in costume. I am a fortune teller gypsy, if you can't tell. But whilst I'm dressed up for this party tonight, I actually thought now would be the great time, whilst in full costume, to tell you about an experience I had which lasted over about 2 years, maybe? 3, I think. Where I encountered fortune tellers that approached me and not the other way around. Now, as far as it goes, I take fortune telling and future readings with quite a hefty grain of salt. I see it more as a suggestion base. You can bring out the cards and they can say, I don't know, you're going to encounter someone with Bohemian lifestyle who's going to have a great change on your life. Doesn't give you when, it's extremely vague. Much like star signs. Now, we'll just dive right in from this point, because I can ramble about this forever, but the first time this happened, I was about 18, 19 years old, and I was at one of the markets we have in our town. Now, this market is known as the Fisherman's Market, if I can English for 5 seconds. Now, I went there, it's got all kinds of things. Think of it more like a swap meet where you can buy people's stuff, things they've made, things they're getting rid of, antiques, etc, etc, etc. There's a lot there, pretty much. And as I was walking down one of the actual areas, this woman with a little card table in front of her and her tarot cards out stared at me for a moment. I didn't want to make eye contact. I noticed she was staring, so I kept walking, because I'm just not in the mood. I don't want to, and I'm not going to pay a fee for someone to get me to pick out some cards so they can get me to try and connect the dots. So I kept walking. As I was about to walk past her, though, she jumps up and runs over to me and is insistent. She's like,
I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you right now. It's important.
I'm telling her, look, I don't want a reading, I'm not interested, sorry. And she keeps insisting, she needs to talk to me. We'll change the name here, but she's saying Angus is insistent that she talks to me. Now, I've never heard of an Angus in my life. I don't even know who she's on about. But she's insistent and she won't let up, and I've told her, I have no money to give you. I'm a teenager. What money does a teenager really have? Well, maybe some teenagers might have money, but I didn't, okay? And she said it was free of charge. She just had to talk to me because Angus would not stop. He was yelling at her. So I've sighed, and I'm like, fine, what do you have to tell me? And she's like,
Oh, child, there is a fork in your road coming. If you don't make the right choice, the 3 sisters will intervene.
The 3 sisters. I'm sitting there confused as fuck. It's vague as hell. She's mentioning some guy called Angus who I've never heard of in my life. And I'm just like, okay, thanks. And continue on my merry way. I shake it off a bit and carry on with my life, So about a year later, I'm 20 years old, I'm walking down the city mall when there's another person with another little card table set out with their tarot cards on a little sign saying, readings for X amount of cash, which I can't quite remember, but it was this older man, and he was sitting there just waiting. I'm walking past him, and he makes eye contact with me. Again, much like last time, I'm not in the mood. I try not to make eye contact and keep walking, because I just want to go to the shop at the end of the mall. But no. He jumps up, runs over to me, he's like,
I need to talk to you. It's important I talk to you.
And I'm sitting there like, dude, no. So I tell him the same thing I told the other lady. I'm not interested and I don't have any money. I was unemployed at the time, so I had no money. Like, 0 cash. He was still insistent, saying, again, that Angus was insistent he talks to me. And that he was yelling at him again. And I'm like, who the fuck is Angus? Like, who is this guy? What's going on? So, I'm like, fine, what? And he's like,
you've passed the first fork in the road. The 3 sisters are going to intervene. If they can't sway you, it will be too late.
And I'm like, what the fuck is he on about? He sounds like he's on drugs. I'm done. I end up leaving. I'm like, forget going to the shops. I'm just gonna go home. So, later that night, I get a phone call from my mom, and her and I are talking, and I mentioned how it was really weird. Second time in the space of 2 years where I've had some psychic tell me some guy called Angus wants to talk to me and is trying to warn me. Now, I bring this up with her. She's like, that's really weird because my father's name was Angus. And I'm like, what? Now, the thing is, obviously this is a fake name. Angus is pretty common, but my grandfather's name on my mum's side of the family isn't. And the fact is, he died a solid 16 years before I was born. Outside of a picture I've seen of him, I didn't really know who he was. I didn't know what his name was. My mum always just referred to him as Pappy. She would be like, your Pappy would have loved you. And that's great. Cool. But I never knew what his name was. Turns out it was Angus. But she's told me not to worry about it. People are weird. It could have just been a very coincidental guess. Please tell me, those who are good at math, what are the odds that it would happen twice? Like, seriously. Surely that's got to be over 1,000,000 to 1 chance. Unless, those 2 psychics are in cahoots. But even then, why single out one random person and space it out so vastly? Why? I don't know. So I'm ignoring all of this. And, comes around Christmas of 2010. I'm still 20. I go see my aunt, who was a psychic. And she's like, just, a bit of fun. Pick a slip of paper out of the bag. That will cover the entire next year. And I'm like, it's a slip of paper. What could possibly be on a slip of paper that covers the entire year? And she's like, oh no, it's runes. It's based on runes. So I reach into this little bag and I pull out a slip of paper and it's completely blank. There's nothing on it. And I'm like, very funny. It's blank. There's nothing on it. You must have put the wrong one in. And she's like, no. That's the blank rune. That means fate has control of your life next year. I have no say in the matter. I could royally fuck everything up and it would still turn out exactly as it was supposed to, kind of thing. I know about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Go about my merry way. Now, I end up going back to her house around about March the next year, I think, or February. It's before my birthday, but she's like, oh, we'll do a proper rune reading. We'll see what's going on. Now, to give you guys an idea, there are 25 runes. 25. So me, the first time picking out the blank rune is a 1 in 25 shot. Odds aren't too bad there, whatever. But again, people good at math, comment below, tell me what the chances and odds are here. When I was doing the rune setup, they pretty much set it out like a clock, so you've got the 1 in the middle, and then at every point where it would be a number, you have the 12 sets, and it's 2 runes per section. The middle fucking rune, guys, was the blank rune again. Now, all of these are turned upside down, so I don't know what I'm picking up. I'm just blindly picking up stones and putting them down. But the middle fucking rune, again, is the blank one. I'm actually getting goosebumps talking about this because everything that followed afterwards was just insane. So she turns to me and she says, in her very simple way, she's like, oh yeah, The three sisters of fate are going to intervene this year. The three sisters. The three sisters of fate. The three fucking sisters, guys. When they were talking about the three sisters, I thought it could have been my mother and her two sisters. You know, getting shitty at me over something. But no, the three fucking sisters of fate, guys. Again, I took this with a colossal amount of salt. Irregardless of being told that my long dead grandfather was trying to warn me, the fact that it's 1 in 25% chance for the first one to come along, and then the second one, I don't even know what the odds are there, but it was pretty fucking unlikely. The big surrounding part here was based around my personal life. I won't go too far in depth with this bit because I could do a million story times on this, and I will get around to it when I feel comfortable with doing so. But I was in a very bad relationship. Like, everyone could see. I'd been with this guy since I was a teenager. When people would try and tell me, I would not listen. It would be a constant thing of, oh, but I love him. No. No. You don't love someone that abusive. You don't love someone that undermines you that much. It's not good, okay? It was bad. But the whole thing came down to a single point in time, where even then, I had 100 other readings stating around a set month, I would meet a man with Bohemian hair who would change my life. As I said, that always sounded extremely vague. And that could literally mean anything. It's vague and broad, and you usually have to connect the dots yourself. But fucking lo and behold, one night, I went to a friend's party. And guess what? I met a tall man with fucking Bohemian hair. Now, I don't say Bohemian hair as in, like, you know, it was a little bit quirky or anything else. No, his hair was fucking purple. Like, it was bright purple. Like, you know those fudge colours that you can get to colour your hair with? Think of one of those bright purples. It was one of those. And he stepped into my life. We became fast friends. It was great. He's a great person. And he could see everything wrong. He told me what was wrong. He told me what I was doing wrong. He told me what was going on was not okay for me to keep allowing. Something I always knew but didn't want to face. And I know, again, this could all just be a generalized thing of coincidences, except for the fact that I nearly met this guy 100 times prior. 2 or so years ago, he was supposed to come to a camping trip that me, my then partner, and friends were going to. But he didn't have the money to do it, so he just didn't go. He nearly didn't come to the party that I met him at. But he had this overwhelming urge that he had to go. I don't know, it's like a kind of like secondary sense in a person where you just know you have to do something, irregardless of if you want to or not. That's how he's described it. He just had to go to this party. Like, he felt like if he didn't, something terrible was going to happen. Which, again, all can still be, you know, brushed off. And I can understand how people would brush it off, because if I heard it, I'd think the person talking is completely insane, which you probably already think that of me now if you haven't watched the last few videos. You probably think it now, at least anyway. But the big factor here, alongside with all this, I mean, there's so many big factors here. So many. But one of the scary things was in a lot of readings that would get done for me. Because as I said, my aunt was a psychic. Whenever I'd go visit, she'd pull out the cards, or she'd, you know, make me tea with loose tea leaves in the cup, which, by the way, I don't care if it's an effective means of reading, it's, ugh. I don't like loose tea leaves. Not unless they can be scooped out, because the feeling of those going down my throat is not pleasant. I was a lot like the Fool. My head was in the clouds, but unlike the Fool, I wasn't safe from the pitfalls. There was an extremely dark energy in my life, and that something horrible was going to happen. Which, when you connect the dots with that, with the fact that my relationship prior was quite awful, and a lot of things he would have said in those time frames, it all correlates in the end. One of his favourite things to do would be to threaten my life. So, I always thought they were just empty threats. But what's the chances that one of his empty threats would have pulled through one day? Man, I am getting goosebumps. Ugh. All in all, it was quite creepy. It still sticks with me today. So whilst I do still take things with a colossal grain of salt, I also take it as a chance for it to maybe point out things that I can already feel aren't right. But if you've had really creepy instances like this yourself, pop them down in the comment section below. I am just dying to see if anyone else has had something like this. Also, if you're good at math and know what the odds and chances and all that were that I mentioned earlier in the video, also put them in the comment section. I'm curious because I'm not so good with mental math. People said I'd never have a calculator on me, but smartphones, they have calculators. They approve this message. And now for something completely different. Okay, bye.